Welcome to the beat, everyone. I'm Ari Melber. James Carville is here tonight as we get back in the saddle. We also have new heat that Donald Trump is facing on the Epstein scandal, the protests over what he's trying to do in Washington, trying to normalize federal troops on your streets so you get used to it, no matter what the reason. And we're going to show you right now what Governor Gavin Newsom is saying. He has been trolling Trump, going after him as a quote chicken, imitating Donald Trump's posts online. This matters because it's part of what's happening in the country, but it also shows politically how Newsom and other Democrats are trying different styles because there's kind of a trolling going on. He's even impersonating the way Trump tweets or posts online. And this afternoon, Gavin Newsom's office, posted a video with masked officers outside his own press conference and then ripping into Trump.
He's a failed president. Who else sends ICE same time having a conversation like this? Someone who's weak, someone who's broken, someone whose weakness is masquerading as strength.
More from the California governor here.
I know they say don't mess with Texas. Well, don't mess with the great Golden State. Here he is once again trying to rig the system. He doesn't play by a different set of rules. He doesn't believe in the rules. We have got to recognize the cards that have been dealt, and we have got to meet fire with fire.
Fire with fire is absolutely the opposite of what we've heard so many times from Democrats, the opposition, about dealing with Trump. So you're seeing that change, not from the far left, not from a street activist, but from one of the most prominent governors in the country who, it's no secret, is on these lists to be a future Democratic candidate for president. There's also the Epstein scandal, which won't go away. There are accusations of witness tampering from Democrats about the little that has come out regarding the controversial interview of Epstein accomplice Maxwell. House Democrats trying to use power to get more information. And this is an issue where many House Republicans have been afraid to disagree with any call for Epstein transparency. They say the transfer of Maxwell to that better prison appears to violate Bureau of Prisons policy, and they want details. Question also is whether Trump is using this, and Trump or his aides or DOJ, to shape any potential future words or testimony by Maxwell. Epstein's victims have said this all looks like a cover-up. Two sources who know what Trump has said have told Rolling Stone that he critiqued media appearances by Epstein accusers and their families and viewed it only through his own personal lens, that they're trying to make him look bad. Trump said that some of these people speaking out are, quote, Democrats. The White House actually denies this report. So if that's a mechanism or a political strategy, it's not one they want to admit to. We heard from an Epstein survivor, Jess Michaels, discussing, that's an older picture of her as she's become an activist in these issues. We gave her the mic to hear directly from someone who's been affected by all this.
I have not heard the words Epstein survivor out of the White House ever. It's not just that they're ignoring survivors when they're having meetings, when they're discussing, when they're talking with the convicted pedophile sex trafficker. I'm really shocked and not that this woman has been able to weasel her way into working towards a pardon, working towards leniency.
Concern there, the prison leniency for Maxwell. The Hill has been reporting on the flurry of action on Epstein that Congress is planning for September. It is summer. Regular people are living their summer lives and maybe following the news a little less, but the evidence is that for many different reasons, the news will stay on this issue and Epstein and Trump's problems with it well past Labor Day when everyone comes back to work. Indeed, it's one of the rare things we've seen have support from the MAGA podcast right to the anti-Trump left. And speaking of anti-Trump concerns, we're seeing fresh protests over the use of federal power and troops in our nation's capital without any great emergency. Of course, there are times where you welcome the National Guard, but this summer deployment has smacked of a pretext for autocratic tactics by Trump, according to many critics. Here's some of what we hear in the scene.
Our streets, our state.
Donald Trump has mused about using and abusing more federal power on our homeland for a long time. That's no secret. They didn't exactly brainstorm some big new reason or trigger for this set of actions. They just made vague references to crime, which of course goes up and down all over the country. Many key crimes that are measured in DC are down. There certainly isn't a kind of a riot or ongoing emergency that would justifiably normally bring out the guard. There's polling that Trump's not doing well. He's actually dropped 9 points, interestingly, among conservative leaning Americans, people who say they are either Republican or leaning. 83% is still a base, but we checked, it's the lowest number of this second term. He's going in the wrong direction, while Pew shows overall 60% of Americans disapprove of this. So what do you do with a hand this week in this long summer of Epstein for the Trump White House? James Carville joins me in 90 seconds. We are back with longtime Democratic strategist James Carville. James, this is one of those news days where I ticked through a couple of things, but they all were going in sort of one direction. Your thoughts on any of the above?
Well, the big thing that I watch today, as I watch every morning, and what's going on with the cost of living, school supplies have gone up substantially year over year from this year to last year, which is something that a lot of people are engaged in. Beef prices at an all-time high. It's about 240 days since he declared that he would beat inflation. I remember on this network, Keith Olbermann used to say, it was how many days since mission accomplished? And they want to do a thing. It's been 242 days since Donald Trump has promised to beat cost of living increases. You feel any relief? And that's his biggest problem overall. I mean, the Epstein stuff. If they get an Emmy for acting guilty, he'd win in a landslide. If they act as guilty as you can be, it's a lot of money, man.
Well, it's the link there. There was a New Yorker cartoon that shows the sort of dark autocratic imagery of soldiers in Washington. And then one observer is saying to another, boy, whatever's in those Epstein files must be really, really bad.
I watched the clip you showed of the people frustrated, and you're yelling at air when you yell at these guardsmen. They're not there because they want to be. They're there because they're told to be. You ought to go across the Potomac and phone bank and walk precincts in Prince William or Loudoun County or Henrico or Chesterfield or one of those places, because that's going to get more. The Virginia governor's race is going to get 5,000 times the amount of tension that's going on in the streets of Washington right now. And it's going to end very poorly for him, I promise you.
There's the splintering on the right, which feels different than, as they say, back in your day, although you're still here, so I don't mean it any which way. But you're on the new mediums, which is I always find interesting about you. You're posting online and you engage with the pods. You were engaging with more podcasts than frankly the Democratic nominee was last year, and they are less relentlessly partisan for the GOP than, say, Fox. So it is a different ecosystem, and I'm going to play Rogan for you and then get your thoughts. On Fox, we monitor it. I support their free speech. They can say whatever they want. But hour by hour by hour, James, they say Donald Trump is handling immigration perfect. Couldn't improve on it. 100% A+ rating. And Joe Rogan, who, by the way, is a conservative and has supported some aspect of limiting new migrants into the country, that's his policies, has a very different take. Here it is.
It was a visceral reaction that a lot of people had, the idea of people just showing up and pulling people out of schools and pulling people out of Home Depot and pulling people that were just hardworking people that maybe snuck over here because they didn't have a legal way to get over here. But since they've been here, they've been good people and they're a part of communities. And that's what freaks people out, because when people thought about ICE, they thought, great, we're going to get rid of the gang members. They didn't think, great, you're going to get rid of a landscaper.
From a Trump voter there with a lot of audience, your thoughts?
Well, Joe Rogan, that guy's smart. I never viewed him as a kind of doctrinaire right winger.
Sure.
He's more into male resentment and being put on, and he knows his audience pretty good. And there's two things: it's a tenet of a lot of conservatives. There's something going on with this child sex stuff, and they feel like they're vindicated because the Epstein thing tends to prove that they had a point to start with. The other thing is, I know a little bit about that ethic. They do. So not all of them. I don't know if most of them, but a significant part of the Joe Rogan audience kind of admires hard work. And man, let me tell you, if you take a 10-year-old and 8-year-old, you walk 400 miles to get in the United States, I'd say, come on in, man. We got a place. We got a place for you, lady, right here. Because I think he understands. I think he's an instinctive marketer. And I honestly think he was a pretty good one. And I think we made a big mistake in not going on his show. I don't think he's some modern day version of Rush Limbaugh at all. I think he's more sophisticated.
Well, you bring it up. I mean, people learn over time. There was a loud, I don't know how representative it was, but there was a loud liberal Democratic wing saying that for Bernie Sanders to engage with him or take his endorsement itself was bad. Pretty rare to take a powerful person with a lot of audience. You can disagree about many things and say, no, don't tell your people to vote for me.
Yeah, the word is loud. They're not very effective. They really don't win elections. They have very limited cultural power. It's mostly in museums and foundations and academia and entertainment. I think that they just make a lot of noise and they try to latch on to anything. But I mean, if you're proud of what you are, as I am, I'm proud of my political philosophy. I'm actually a proud Democrat. I'll go on anywhere. Sure, come on, Ari Melvin, anytime you ask me. I'll go on Sean Hannity. I'll go on Jesse Waters. I'll go on anybody because I feel like what I have to say, people are going to want to buy and they're going to be part of that. And what they're selling, this anger and boycott everything and boycott this, and it just people, that's not where people are. And they're not popular and they're not very effective. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Well, it's funny you mentioned institutions because we got something on that coming up. But James, stay with me. I'm also going to show you more
Yes,
of
sir.
what Newsom's doing. I'll tell folks coming up, this crackdown at the Kennedy Center, we have a report on that. And Don Lemon joins us later in the hour tonight.
What are you talking about?
Oh, cookies! And pretty much cookies.
Are happening all over the country. Right here in New York, there's just a very big one downtown, rolling from the west side to the east side.
We cannot unilaterally disarm. We can't stand back and watch this democracy disappear district by district all across this country. We need to stand up, not just California. Other blue states need to stand up. We need to be firm in our resolve.
Governor Newsom speaking today. We're back with James Carville. Are Democrats in the national stage finding a sharper, better message against Trump?
Well, this is a good one, and I'll give A in political campaign to Governor Newsom and also to Governor Pritzker. I mean, they were given an opportunity, and they stepped in, and they stepped up to the plate, and people are outraged. I mean, no one wants politics to be about drawing maps. Okay, they want it to be about ideas and campaigning, but you're forced to it. It's like, well, they use chemical warfare. What do you expect us to do? And I think it's given him an opportunity to command center stage. I think he's very aggressively and smartly taken that, as I think Governor Pritzker has. Now, is this going to decide the Democratic nomination in 2028? I don't know. It might. People are more angry about it, and I think the more people find out about it, the madder they're going to get. And it's just not hardcore Democrats like me or, say, my friend Don Lemon, my Baton Rouge guy who's coming on after me. But
Yep.
I think people. This is something that's just not right. I don't think this is going to sit well. I bet you this doesn't sit well with Joe Rogan over a period of time. I think that guy has a better sense of justice than this. We'll see.
It's something you know a lot about. People can't keep track of everything. So what you're saying is the Democrats are actually boosting this and saying put them back on defense because you're talking about writing the rules in the middle of the game because otherwise you'd lose. People can understand that. It's not a tricky one. As for whether this is the template for a Democratic leader, I'll tell you this, James. I know people come up to you because I've occasionally been out in the world with you. People come up to James Carville. I'm no James Carville, but this summer people come up to me. The top questions I get not a poll, anecdotal, is I get questions about American democracy, what's going to happen in the future with Trump. I get a lot of Epstein questions. That's just a big topic.
Right.
And then I keep getting questions about Mamdani. And we got reports now Barack Obama himself reached out to Democratic nominee for mayor, but he's not even elected yet in New York. Axelrod speaking on that. I have the quote here, says, look, you might not agree with every answer or every idea, but he's asking the right questions. How do we make the country work for working people and inspire young Americans who have this economic uncertainty? You've said you like Mamdani on the economy. What do you make of Obama reaching out, the fact that we're hearing about it, not everything's an accident in politics, and what's coming down the pike in this race that's now pretty close in the fall?
Well, I think President Obama was wise to do this. Look, the guy's he's smart. He's young. All right. Did he say stupid things in his 20s? Yes. If all of you have not said stupid things in your 20s, raise your right hand because you're not going to. But he cost a living. Understand that. He pounds it home. I give him very high marks for that. Very high marks. And, he's got some energetic people around him. And I'm surprised, honestly, Ari, the number of young people I know, young people, grandchildren and people I know in New York are saying, my kids are excited about this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody wanted to bet me even money, and I'm not going to take the bet that he carried the Jewish vote in the general election in November.
Well, James, I don't know.
He just might do that.
I don't know if you remember this from all your days on the road. There are a fair amount of Jewish New Yorkers.
I didn't know that. I thought, what? Damn.
Well, but you're speaking on something which is, what are we defined by, right? And it's his detractors who wanted to make his candidacy all about the Middle East, which is a big debate in the country, in the world, on the left and the right. That's a whole debate. But they wanted to go into that. And you're saying he could actually hold the line with Jewish New Yorkers who are mostly Democrats, partly because it's the affordability message that made him the most popular in the primary.
Yeah, a lot of people who are sympathetic to the state of Israel, I would certainly consider myself one, pretty uncomfortable about these images of these children and these pediatricians coming out. I mean, at some level, the humanity kicks in on this thing. And, I've always been a believer that humanity will trump identity every time. But I do think people are uncomfortable with this, and justifiably so.
Yeah.
But again, I can't defend. So he doesn't need much, but I think he has energy.
Yeah,
no,
he's got the energy.
I think he's got energy.
Yeah, and as they say, both things can be true. People could have disagreements with, as you put it, something he said in his 20s, or even what he would do if he were the chief Mideast peace negotiator, which is not the job he's running for. So again, you get into what's the issue, who picked it. James, we started the show with you. We continued the show with you 2 blocks in a row in the summer, my guy.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. And
Yes,
the young people, they're coming on. See you, man. Take care.
There they go. We'll keep watching. Our thanks to James Carville. Coming up, we have a veteran journalist with a lot of perspective joining me tonight.
Here's what I noticed from my time here, that the young men said that they are automatically looked at by members of law enforcement as suspects. The way that they approach them is the way that the guys are going to respond to them.
Veteran reporter, anchor, newsman, and now digital star, Don Lemon. We love it when he's around. He joins me live next. President Trump seeking to abuse government power to shape culture and censor free speech. The White House says it will do a review of Smithsonian Museum exhibits so that they align with Trump's vision. They're admitting partisan abuse of a hallowed institution that is supposed to provide accurate history, beautiful art, and truth, but not switch every 4 years based on politics. Renowned painter Amy Sherald actually pulled out of a Smithsonian exhibit to show, by walking away, that she was not going to put up with any such distortions. For example, her paintings, including one that imagined a sort of trans Statue of Liberty, facing pressure from this partisan big government anti-free speech administration. His attempts at a cult of personality are also becoming quite noticeable and at times bizarre. He said he will personally host this year's honors ceremony at Kennedy Center obviously giving a tell to how he views not only his schedule, because you should be busy doing, peace negotiations, but also that he sees himself on par with the usual approach and honorees.
The Kennedy Center honors have been among the most prestigious awards in the performing arts. I wanted one. I was never able to get one. The hell with it. I'll become chairman, and I'll give myself an honor.
The joke is not a joke. He is upset about his prior treatment and wants everything to be political. Remember, even if you are a traditional conservative, even a Republican or MAGA voter, most people do not want politics rubbed and distorted over every single part of our American culture. Let the artists decide. That's why we go to see art. The broader backdrop is the abuse of power, the threats to companies, the misuse of the merger approval process that we've covered, shows that now even Hollywood, which of course is just a bunch of businesses, are chasing red state audiences, and shows trying to go after what is a suddenly prized demographic. Reporters from The New Yorker chasing that story, and entire corporations are bowing to powerful right-wing actors, including cutting normal diversity programs or recruitment, the Paramount Skydance merger as measured, and that is just the tip of the censorship iceberg. To get into this story, we have what we think is a great guest tonight, Don Lemon, who of course is a serious reporter and anchor. We showed him out in the field earlier in the program, but also, quite frankly, a knowledgeable part of our culture.
Many New Yorkers are not changing their routines despite the latest terror warnings. Are you racist?
I am the least racist person that you have ever met.
We're on the eve of Super Tuesday, Senator. What's the one thing you want voters there and across the country to know before they cast their vote?
What do you talk about?
Oh, cookies! And pretty much cookies.
A Cookie Monster interview, not an easy get. I've never gotten one of those. I do it. It looks fun. I want to mention, of course, the Don Lemon Show on YouTube, where a lot of Don's longtime viewers and fans catch up with him. And he's the author of I Once Was Lost, My Search for God in America, the book that brings him to us tonight. Great to have you.
Thank you. And I write about this.
What do you see in Trump here?
I say that money-driven mass media created Trump. He's a creation of that. So we should be surprised that he's a bloviator. Here's the good thing. By the way, I just want to say Amy Sherrill is a friend of mine. I've never been prouder of her. I'm so happy that she's doing what she's doing. And I think this is actually going to be helpful to her. And I think in some strange way, this will be helpful to other artists. As you know, you're a huge fan of rap and hip hop. So artists like the fire. It makes them better. And so Donald Trump thinks that he's, helping or he's changing or whatever he thinks that he's doing with artists, but he's actually helping them in a sense to become better artists. This is this is art in itself, what Donald Trump is doing. It is performance art, bad performance art, that he's going to get roasted by artists, whether it's rappers, whether it's painters, whether it's photographers or whatever it is. Artists are going to get us out of this terrible time that we're in. I believe it's going to be artists because it's definitely not journalism right now for the most part. Because as you know, you mentioned in the run up to when you were introducing me, a lot of folks are bending the knee. Artists don't do that. They do what Amy Sherrill did, and they say, you're not changing my art. It's for consumption of people, it's not about perfection of what you want.
Well, you make an interesting point that by being so invasive and Trump using big federal government power to go into these places, it puts more people in that decision of, hey, the old book, you can't be neutral on a moving train.
Right.
To be quiet and just go along with, say, a campus, a college, or an institution, a museum, saying, hey, we like some of this. We're just going to remove the parts of your statement that offend the current government. That's not America. And that's not something I think a lot of artists want to be neutral on. I'll show you some of these headlines. Trump says Gayle King's career is over.
Trump wants to be friends with Gayle King. He wants to be friends with Oprah. He wants to be friends with all celebrities.
Kimmel, all these headlines. What do you see here in what's animating what is clearly a personal vendetta?
Well, he feels, somehow spited or slighted, I should say, by celebrity and by his once liberal friends who he loved hanging out with, who he invited to his multiple weddings and different babies' mamas. And so he feels slighted by that. So this is a revenge tour. It's nothing more than that. And look, people, I don't have very many positive things, if any at all, to say about Donald Trump. And I've interviewed him 6-8 times, maybe more. He would call in from You know, when I was on CNN,
Sure.
he'd call in, I don't know where he was, in the bed, the toilet, whatever he was, seriously. And he would just call in and talk and ramble and rant. And so I don't have very many positive things to say about him because there aren't really any positive things to say about him. He does, what he's doing is objectively bad for the world, is objectively bad for our democracy, and it should be called as such. There should not be false equivalence with anything that Donald Trump does because he doesn't play by the rules. He's not fair. Look what he's trying to do. We mentioned with the arts. Look what he's trying to do around the country. He's trying to steal elections right now.
Yeah, they're trying to
and
rewrite the
people
rules.
are pretending as if this is something that's normal, and they're treating it like, oh, well, let's have a conversation about this. No, what he's doing is bad. This is not a census year. This should not be happening. He should not be calling governors to try to, because he's afraid of losing the midterms, to try to steer elections in a certain direction.
Yeah, and as you say, we're in a society right now where the incumbent government says, well, if we're going to lose power in a free and fair election, then let's not have one.
Right.
Let's have an unfair election. Let's change the rules. As for late night, I'll show how some of this is playing out. Let's take a look.
After naming himself chairman of the Kennedy Center, today, President Trump announced this year's honorees. Trump said he picked Kiss because they're one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time, and also because they wear as much makeup as he does.
Yeah, give him something stupid to do to keep him out of trouble. Hosting award shows is what he envisioned being president is in the first place.
He could be the host at Applebee's, anything that distracts him from running this country into the ground.
This is
told you.
Yeah, I mean, this is the back and forth, and this is what the country's experiencing. And his approval is sinking. I mean, there's no evidence that people want this.
Look, whether you think that I don't know, art or politics is downstream from culture, or culture is downstream from politics, Donald Trump is losing by every single measure. He's underwater 68 points with black people. He's underwater 43 points with Hispanic. He's even underwater 5 points with white voters. And brand new Pew Research polling shows that he has a 38% approval rating and a 60% disapproval rating. Now, he's still president of the United States.
Yeah.
Elections have consequences. We just have to buckle up and figure out how to get through the next couple of years so that maybe some semblance of democracy can be brought back to America and really to the world, because we're supposed to be showing the world what democracy is really like. We're not doing such a good job right now.
Given your extensive experience in the job, and it's easy to sit outside and throw darts.
Yeah.
And the media, we need some darts because sometimes people make important critiques. But you've actually done the job for a long time.
Yeah.
When you see this many corporate owners give up this quickly, either for financial reasons or just general fear, we saw it at CBS. We saw ABC settle. We saw Washington Post completely change its opinion section and a lot more, and kill endorsements after a very powerful person. I mean, if Bezos can't withstand it, who can? Said, well, I think Trump has changed and I want to play ball. Given your experience, what does that look like to you? And does that concern you as someone who has been part of the credentialed press?
You want the answer? It makes me want to scream and cry at the same time because someone who I really respect said, you should be calling the person who asked you to leave CNN and telling them thank you and to kiss them, considering what's happening with journalism right now. Now, I worked with some of the best journalists in the world, and I cannot imagine what they're up against unless they're deluding themselves that something good is happening with journalism. It is not. And I don't mean necessarily in the newsrooms. We're talking about with the corporate bosses.
Yeah.
Who are bending the knee, who are settling lawsuits that are winnable, who are, there's no, bulwark between the journalism and the corporate suites. That they should not be influencing journalism. History will not look back kindly or show kindly on whoever gutted the marquee journalistic institution in the world. 60 Minutes. It's not going to look kindly on that, regardless of how much money you made from it. It's going to look poorly. History is not going to look fondly on Donald Trump for doing what he's doing. Donald Trump is strong-arming, bullying corporate owners, threatening their businesses, and that is trickling down to newsrooms. And it is so obvious. You see the numbers dwindling. People say, people are just cutting the cord. It's not just cord cutting. The American public, the viewer is not stupid. They understand when people are not being real with them. They understand when people are being influenced by oligarchs or business owners or their bosses. And that's why I think, quite honestly, this is such a boon for independent journalists, because we have no corporate bosses over us. The sad thing is that we don't have the big corporate sponsorships, but that's coming. But we have no bosses over us saying, do you have to say that Donald Trump is racist? Can't you just say he's trafficking in racism? Can't you just say that some of the things he does is borders on racism?
Right.
No, Donald Trump is a you-know-what racist.
Do you have to say he tried to steal the election? You just say he's testing his power.
No, he's trying to steal the election. Yeah. And I think people want journalists to be straight with them and not pretend like this is normal, and not pretend that not to give it false equivalence. And quite honestly, not to sit around desks like this and yell at each other. And just fight.
Well, see, I was going to yell at you, but now I can't.
No, but you can if it's organic. I agree that you can disagree.
No, I feel you. That was just a light joke.
If people are just booked on shows just to fight, it's not good.
Yeah, I appreciate what you said. I'm going to give you something positive in closing.
What is that?
The last time you were here, we talked about a very technical matter in television that you know from your work, which is the tab of the segment. I draw everyone's eyes to the tab in the upper left corner. You ordered Zesty last time, and you've gotten it this time.
Oh, my gosh. I did? What happened?
You said, what about Zesty as a tab?
Oh, there's a tab, right. Oh,
the blue tab,
on the
Zesty.
Lower third. I see what
Lower
you're saying.
third, Zesty tab. It's a lemon-related pun, but you have to think about it. Lemon zest, Zesty.
This is a very Louisiana-heavy show.
It is. 2/3 of the guests.
James Carville is my man. Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Don Lemon with thoughts on culture and how to get it done. We appreciate it. Coming up, Trump's picked to be the top labor official on the stats. Actually spotted outside the Jan 6 Capitol attack there. And coming up, Chance the Rapper.
You got Chance right here. You still got Chance over here.
Oh my God!
Oh, you got Chance right here. Oh, wow. And even though my boy is blocked, you got Chance right here.
Donald Trump under fire for the ongoing controversy about trying to maybe cook the books at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, ousting someone for telling the truth. His new nominee is a MAGA loyalist, Project 2025, economist who's worked with the Heritage Foundation. And as if that wasn't enough about the partisanship, when you want a mathematician, turns out he was right here, spotted at a crime spree, the January 6th attack, where others, of course, were convicted and went to prison for sedition. He was seen, however, walking away from the Capitol on the west side there. This was an hour after the mob started storming the barricades. That means that he was a part of this, which is concerning, but not, to be clear, evidence linking him to the criminal trespassing or other activities inside the building. The White House says he was a bystander. Remember, if you have to be identified as a bystander at a Trump event, that should tell you even the Trump folks are concerned about admitting about all the Trump supporters who commit crimes. So, hey, just a bystander. He says, or others around him, that he was in town for meetings and denies engaging in anything illegal. Trump ally Steve Bannon has pushed the nomination, and he's a frequent guest on that War Room show.
Have we put in our own person into BLS? Is a MAGA Republican that President Trump knows and trusts? Are they running the Bureau of Labor Statistics yet, sir?
No, unfortunately, Steve, we still haven't gotten there. And I think that's part of the reason why we continue to have all of these different data problems.
Calls for partisanship over math. Now, coming up, a Grammy winner who's worked with Obama and has a new album, Chance the Rapper.
This time of year, I get thankful, baby. Thankful for you. So come back around. Even though it's not allowed.
There's a lot of new music coming down the pike, from Taylor Swift to our next guest, Chance the Rapper from Chicago, who actually once interned for Obama and named him as one of his favorite musicians. Not a bad presidential shout out. And they go way back. You can see them there, President and First Lady. Chance the Rapper, you know him as the 3-time Grammy winner, including Best Rap Album, Best Rap Performance, and back in the day before he was a global star, when he was Best New Artist.
All of a sudden, who I feel? You get touch me, nah, 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 nah. I got angels. She don't got no label. She say she want bottles. She ain't got no table. Flabbergasted avalanche of ambulances near. The labyrinth, the pan slab is adamantly here. My mama had to work. My mama had to birth 2 kids. My mama drove the church in iron shirts and kept a smirk.
And in a time of corporate pressure, indeed, what we're discussing tonight, corporate pressure on all kinds of culture, we should note that Chance the Rapper is the first independent artist, that means not pre-signing to a big corporate label, to go diamond, moving 10 million records. The new album out tomorrow is called Starline. Chance the Rapper returns to the beat on this fine day. Nice to see you. Thanks for being here.
Yo, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. People are excited to get new music from you. Tell us about this project, the title I read about, what that all means.
Yeah. Yeah, so the project comes out tonight. It's called Starline. It's a beautiful, beautiful journey through these past 6 years. My travels to Accra, Ghana, in West Africa, learning so much about my history, not just here, but globally, all of the communities that we're connected to, and it really shines through on the music. And I named it Starline after Marcus Garvey's Black Star Line, which was a Black shipping and trading company started in the 1920s that was owned and operated by Black folks in the U.S. And they charted their own path. They, had the power of self-determination, and it really spoke to me. And so these last few years, I've been learning more about myself, learning more about our histories, and it really comes through on the album.
Yeah, it's super interesting, and I think a lot of our viewers will know the reference. You're talking about a Black Power movement that wanted to mix social and civil rights, which is just protecting equality, with building power. Something that Garvey and Malcolm X and others said, well, we got to own the power, so we're not asking for anything. I wonder, in your mind, does that? I don't want to put words in your mouth. In your mind, does that also relate to what I mentioned, that you've been an independent artist in a way that has clearly has reinforced the independence of your voice?
Absolutely. I think one of the greatest things about being independent is the fact that you sort of get an opportunity to decommodify your art and be humanized as an owner or as a person that has a resource that they naturally own. So rather than feeling like a worker, a commodity, or a resource to someone else, like a larger company, you own the means to make the music, and the artistic IP is yours. And so when you're in a position as a musician, I think you naturally should be in control of, what your music does, your masters, stuff like that, boring music stuff. But like, it reverberates through everything. Like Marcus Garvey and many people since then have always, I think, pushed towards Black people owning the means to operate, to have a bigger impression on agriculture, on education, politics, economics, everything. In a lot of spaces that we didn't at the time, and we still currently don't occupy.
Yeah, that makes sense. We have a clip, I believe, here from one of the lead singles, Tree. Let's take a listen to that.
No life or habits, issues, there will never be a problem with the wind. She told me, son, don't worry, don't you have no shame. There's gonna be frustration in this white man's game, and they're gonna have us tied up once it's legalized, because it is a trend.
Tell us about that.
Pretty visceral, huh?
Yeah.
What up in SMBC? The record is called Tree. It's about all kinds of trees, but it's mainly, I think, the whole idea of the songs, that, like I was just saying, that that lack of access or participation in agriculture, and a microcosm of that could just be the fact that Black people don't get to participate necessarily in the cannabis industry, or in various avenues of wealth. And the song itself is just, it's a sample of NDRE's Video, which is a song my mom used to play to me forever, about understanding my self-worth, believing in myself, you know what I'm saying, taking control of my destiny. And I flipped that to make a song about my mother, who, you know, never made me, you know, like weary of the taboos around smoking weed or feel otherized by a lot of the things that, you know, pop culture would treat us or would teach us to think is unbecoming of ourselves. And so that record is like both, you know, a chill, fun record to, you know what I'm saying, smoke to, but it's also, you know, a good time to just like think about some of the inner workings of how our country's set up.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll warn you now, I got 45 seconds left, but does this feel like a different time to make music and speak, given everything we've just covered in the news tonight?
This is the
Go
most
ahead.
important time. I'm glad you told me you got 45 seconds. This is the most important time. I heard you earlier on with Don, and he was talking about how, you know, I'm paraphrasing, but at the fall of empire, the most important voices is the voices of artists and journalists. And so I think it's an incredibly important time to be honest, to be grace giving, but also to be bold in our approach and how we speak about the truths that are out there. So I agree totally that like this is a different time to be making music. It's a different time to be telling the news. It's a different time to be working in government and healthcare and education and anything. And whatever your, you know, heavenly gift is, I think you're supposed to use it towards the movement. Speaking of movement, I'm going on tour. I saw you post my tour up on the screen, and we didn't get to talk about it.
We'll put it back up. The tour. I mean, by the way, what you just said, I think resonates for a lot of people, so people can really hear what Chance just said. We'll go full. Put it in full, folks. I'm telling our producers. And we back, and we back, and we back. You could check out Chance the Rapper's tour. Could check out him online on Instagram. Find the exact tour dates and where to get tickets. And the new album, of course, is Starline. Chance, thanks for coming on.
It drops tonight, baby.
There
Ari,
we
I'm gonna see
go.
you out there on the road, right?
Yes, sir. I hope so. Thanks to Chance. That's the beat.